Hello, everybody. I'm George from Ireland. Welcome back to the channel. Anyway, this video is about the Quantum Prime Minister Liz Truss. Remember, she resigned on the 25th of October last year after 49 tumultuous days as Prime Minister. The British economy was in turmoil. So she's the shortest serving PM since the 18th century. And who would have served less time? Was it Earl Waldegrave served 5 days, the Earl of Bath served 2 days, and some historians don't even count as prime ministers. But there is some disconnection in Elizabeth Mary Trust's mind, who thinks that she can somehow stage a comeback, be in frontline politics. And she published an article in the Sunday Telegraph just this past weekend. The Telegraph is popular in as the Tory graph, as it's the most pro-conservative newspaper there is. And it was rather impenitent, but even then she said that she took a small share of the blame, but really it was the left-wing political establishment. Everybody's responsible except her. Well, wait a second, who's really responsible? It's the Prime Minister. I mean, if you're the Prime Minister, you say it's everybody's fault except yours. You patently don't deserve to be Prime Minister. You are responsible. You have to take responsibility. And Conservatives are supposed into self-reliance. You must be held to account for what you've done, and not whinging this victim mentality. Now, Lord William Hague, the quantum leader of the Conservative Unionist Party, from 1997 to 2001, was seen as a fairly disastrous Tory leader. Admittedly, he had a very difficult time when he took over after the worst defeat for 165 years. But he's turned into something of an elder statesman. And it wouldn't give me an interview, thanks a lot, when I bumped into him on the street. But anyway, he's sort of on the money when he's saying Liz Truss really ought to put a sock in it. And every time she opens her trap, she wins another 100,000 votes for Labour. The Conservative Party needs her campaigning like it needs a hold in the head. The last thing it wants is for people to be reminded that she exists. So a long period of reticence on her behalf would be cordially appreciated. It's just staggering that she believes she can have any prominent role. Who managed to screw it up so much so fast, lose about £30 billion in 30 days. Be forced out by her own cabinet. Now, in principle, every Conservative worth his salt would prefer to cut tax, but you can only do so when circumstances are propitious for that. And she patently didn't create these circumstances and was full steam ahead. Back down only when she was forced to. Maggie Thatcher, she was not. Maggie Thatcher tread carefully at first. It was only after about 4 years she began to be bolder, when she was very sure of herself, when she knew the cabinet, the party, the press, and the public behind her. So Liz Truss really got it all wrong, and the lack of contrition is just shocking. No apology, no recognition of the harm she wrought to the economy, and that the party is going to carry the can for her disastrous mismanagement of the economy for a long time. Her stewardship of the country was so short, and nobody's managed to wreak so much havoc and harm in such a short space of time. So and she said that the civil service, they didn't properly warn her about things. Well, sorry, individual ministerial responsibility. You've got to take responsibility, even if it's actually not your personal fault. People said that she disregarded what was being said. Anyway, she thinks that these city traders and international financiers were too left-wing and things like that, as though they're really closet socialists. These plans weren't given a realistic chance. But, a lot of economic experts said, no, this is really a recipe for disaster. Now, I've never studied economics, but even I thought it was a bit too good to be true, that we can cut tax and the economy will magically grow. We can tear up the Northern Ireland Protocol and there'll be no repercussions from that. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? So she was very injudicious. She disregarded expert advice. I suppose she's unembarrassable. I mean, shamelessness is a valuable commodity in politics. Look at Trump, look at Johnson, and now Liz Truss. But wow. Anyway, I think her seat in Suffolk is going to happen as a candidate for the forthcoming general election. Doubtless she'll be re-elected there, but really she's got no future in politics. Anyway, she said that her program was resisted right from the very beginning, but she didn't name names or say why it was resisted. Yeah, but anyway, this unidentifiable establishment, she was against them, but she wouldn't sort of face the unwelcome facts that this was just never going to work. So anyway, she's quite delusional. She's obviously conceited, in some ways dim. I mean, only a brainy person like her could be so dim when it comes to this. There's no introspection. So this is really unhelpful for the Conservative and Unionist Party. And because, there is talk of Boris Johnson coming back, and I think it's a bit less likely with this whole Richard Sharp scandal. But I've never heard a single person say that they miss Liz Truss. They want her back. Taxes had to go up, not down, as a result of her, rather than staying where they were. Had we elected Rishi Sunak first time round, we wouldn't have had all this mistake of Truss economics. But I suppose she played a blinder by telling the party base what they wanted to hear. So no doubt she'll carry on in the House of Commons for a few years. Will she be kicked upstairs? Will she be offered a peerage? Well, I mean, since Maggie Thatcher, no prime minister actually taken a peerage. Presume they were offered, but one of the conventions changed. They will no longer be offered them as of right. I'll tell you what I think is shocking. Ex officio, she gets, is it £170,000 to run her office as a former prime minister, despite serving such a short time. She didn't last kissing time. As a joke said that a certain cabbage would last longer than she would. I didn't think she'd be kicked out quite that soon. I thought she'd stagger on till December. But for Labour's point of view, she's the gift that keeps on giving. They want to remind the public of how out of touch certain Conservatives were, of the economic damage that Trussonomics wrought, and people suffering, and the supposed arrogance of it. So that's why she's really bad news for the Conservative Party. As I say, I don't think Johnson will be able to come back, because it came to light that Boris Johnson, we appointed Richard Sharp, chairman of the British Broadcasting Corporation. Sharp had organised an £800,000 loan for Boris Johnson. Now, Sharp wasn't lending the money. Mr. Sharp wasn't guaranteeing it either, but he arranged for it. And they were asked by the BBC Trust, and indeed by the House of Commons Committee on Cultural Media and Sport, do you two have any financial relationship? And they both said no, which was a lie, because they did. Now, so there was an interest that should have been declared. Why would you appoint a 60-something-year-old man with no media experience whatsoever chairman of the BBC? Could it be because he helped you out financially? So there was an interest to be declared. Now, had the committee known that, and had the BBC Trust known that, they might have allowed the appointment to go ahead. But this was done under false pretenses. So this is obviously lying to Parliament, and obviously grossly unethical, a breach of the ministerial code. So it's going to be more difficult for Boris Johnson to come back in May. I don't think he will. The Conservatives are widely slated to do badly in the not midterm elections, in the May local elections. One would expect that after 13 years in office, midterm, economic situation not exactly rosy and all the rest of it, public services not in sparkling form. And Bojo thinks this is a big chance to turf out Rishi Sunak. And it's true that Johnson's more popular than Sunak in the opinion polls, but that's partly because Mr. Sunak is in office and he has to bear responsibility for the difficulties we're facing. So I don't think Johnson's going to come back, but I don't rule it out. I give him, say, a 20% chance. Before the Richard Sharp scandal was slightly higher, like maybe 30%. Remember, Johnson was trying to make a comeback in October, only 6 weeks after he resigned, forced out by his own cabinet. But we live in interesting times. Sometimes I wish we didn't. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.